What's up YouTube? Redbeard's Garage, and welcome back to another video. Well, me and my daughter was just riding her go-kart, and the torque converter belt finally wore out. This belt had been coming apart ever since pretty much we put it together. It started fraying. It's just cheap belts, and I'm not paying $50 for a Comet belt or like a Gates brand belt. So show you what it did. Now, as you can see, that belt is actually flipped upside down, and it's coming off that back pulley. So it completely wore that belt out in no time. I don't know if it's because, you know, this is a 6.5 horse motor, but the way we've got it built, it's probably 10 horse, 11 horse now. And that might be too much for that particular torque converter. I don't know what they're rated up to. I'm thinking maybe 13 horsepower, but I'm not sure. I'll have to check online, but it doesn't matter. I bought a 5-pack of belts for $45 off eBay. So to change this belt out, all you gotta do is take that, I believe it's a 10mm bolt out of that front, and just slide that whole pulley off and put the belt on. And then, or you take the outside of this front pulley off, slide the belt off, and then slide the new one on. Aubrey's demonstrating like so. Blow. So Aubrey, how do you like your go-kart?
I love it.
What's your favorite thing about the go-kart?
I'm scared to death of driving it, but...
What for?
Well, because the wheel turns when you're going down there. Rachel's behind you.
So, the reason she's scared of it is because the camber on the front end makes the steering hard. Okay, we pulled that pulley off there, and you can see the thing was murdered. It had completely ate off the inside. Focus. Yeah. Ate off the inside. So, like I said, I'm pretty sure this motor might be a little bit too much power for, I think this is a Comet 30 series torque converter. And so it's stripped that down pretty quick. But like I said, you can get a 5-pack of those for $50 on eBay, and I'm gonna keep 5 on hand. When I get down to 2 left, I'll order 5 more. So it's not no big a deal.
Because it can lift off, and it's not even hot.
Actually, it is hot.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, how you doing?
By the way, she loves the camera, so. But we the only thing we got to do now, I put a fuel shut off on this thing because put that fuel shut off right there because my wife was pull starting, and this thing's got some kickback. I mean, when it gets compression, it'll kick you back like a 2-stroke dirt bike wheel. And you can see when it kicked back and it yanked the pull cord out of her hand, it smacked the fuel turn on and snapped it right off there. So that's fine. I put a fuel shut off up here. It'd be nice to shut it off at the carburetor, but you still need one up there at the fuel tank, so when you take the engine off, you don't, you know, drain gas everywhere. But you can see the fuel filter is getting a little dirty, so, which I figured this can had been sitting for years when I'd started using it. And we also found a cap finally. I couldn't find out what the threads was, so this is actually an oil cap for a tractor, and when you tighten this T-arm, it swells up a piece of rubber, and it actually fit perfectly snug. You want to say something?
Yeah. Never touch the hot motor.
Never touch the hot motor. I was thinking about riding this thing again after I put the belt on it and pulling that muffler out. I've never pulled it out since we started it. And you can see, right after we started riding it, it flaked like immediately. So I was thinking about the next one I do, I'm thinking about getting the whole pipe. And I know some people's going to call me crazy, but get the whole pipe and muffler ceramic coated. But that heat shrink, I think, looks pretty good on there. And it's baking nicely and turning that gold color. So I may just keep heat shrinking, or not heat shrink, beg my pardon. Keep header wrapping them. But yeah, she's running good. I would say that fuel pump right there, that pulse pump, that works off the vacuum of the engine. So every time the motor creates vacuum, I got it hooked up to the valve cover right there. It'll pretty much pump that little pump. And I found out that you can get those on Amazon for like $7. So I'm going to end up ordering 4 or 5 of those to keep around. I like having stuff in stock for these go-karts. We got 7 of them, so we might as well. So I'm gonna see how good my daughter can work the camera while I put this belt back on, and then we're gonna take that muffler off and see how loud it is. So
First time ever.
first time she's working the camera ever. So yeah, let's get to putting this belt on. All right, now this whole torque converter setup still pretty hot, so I definitely don't want to burn myself. Yeah, it's still pretty warm. Mother! Right after I said it was really warm, I go and grab it, because that's how smart I am. Okay, close. There we go. So putting the belt on is pretty much that easy. Come look right here, Upper. So when you put the torque converter belt on, you want to put it over the back first, and then just stretch it a bit, and you can get it over that front. And now we can reassemble this thing. I'm gonna put the little inside. This is what kind of twists and compresses the front drum, pretty much. And now this is probably going to be hard to put back on when it's hot, I would say. So we're going to do the best we can. That's for sure. I mean, those pulleys get pretty hot because if you think, that belt is making a lot of friction in there. Now, when I put this belt back on, I put a pair of gloves on. And I like to use an impact and not just beat the far out of it, but do it the best I can. But I'm just going to hand tighten it and keep an eye on it. Swap around me. So right now I'm just trying to tighten it as much as possible, and I think that's the best we're going to get. So we're going to take it for a drive real quick. Alright, we just took it around the yard without the muffler in it, and I don't like the way it sounds. It's a lot louder, but it's a lot like higher pitched, kind of what I would think a Honda would sound like. But it sounds a lot better with the muffler on it. It pretty much sounds like a four-wheeler. So I'm going to throw the muffler back on it, and that's pretty much for riding it tonight. I was going to throw the GoPro on it, but it just takes too much to set the GoPro up on it. I mean, and the when I do put another video of the GoPro on it, you'll hear a real, like a high-pitched rattling noise constantly. It just sounds like metal banging around. Now what that is I'll switch to the go-kart and show you real quick. Okay, those arms right there that connect the whole rear cage system to the front frame with those bolts in it, that's what's rattling. Basically, the bolt isn't like a super snug fit in the round piece of pipe that's welded to the end, as you can see. So it rattles up and down. What I need to do is, the next time I got the rear cage off, is go find the proper size bolt that fits real snug in that pipe, so there's no air or room to vibrate and rattle around. But for now it's fine. It just makes some noise, and there's a few little things, like there's a old piece of metal right there that rattles around a little bit. I just need to pull it off. Take 2 seconds. But the wires that's laying right there behind the engine is actually for those headlights, and I got wires ran up to the second toggle switch to run the headlights. So I need to get those wired up. I mean, they're ran right there. All I need to do is build a battery box. I already have the battery, but the problem was we was going to use that ammo box for a battery box, and the battery's just a hair bit too large for it. So the next thing on the agenda is build a battery box so we can run the headlights. Of course, the engine won't charge the headlights. The way it'll run is we'll have a quick connector in the battery box, so every 4 or 5 times she rides it using the headlights, which she don't ride it much at night, but once the headlights are working, she may. She just needs to remember to plug the battery up every 4 or 5 times. She'll have a voltage gauge up front, and I'll kind of teach her what levels, 10.5 or so she needs to plug it up. But yeah, she's running mint. I got an RPM gauge I need to throw on here, and a couple more things, and I do believe I'm going to get her a nice steering wheel with a quick release hub. just so it's a little bit nicer. And you can actually slide that seat back even further than I had it, which makes it a lot more comfortable for me. I just had it slid up to that position for her. But we're also, I'm actually going to move the battery. We was going to mount it right there behind the engine, but we're not right now. I'm actually going to build a little plate for it to set right in here and have like a little door that you can open and access the battery. And then we may even put some metal right here and right behind the seat to kind of make a firewall for the heat. And we're going to build some ducting that comes from the side and runs across the head. So when we get out on the road, you know, riding it on like a dirt road or so, riding it at, you know, 40, 50 mile an hour, it's getting the motor a good amount of cooling. Anything you want to add to this video?
Sure.
Like?
Yeah, I have something, but my daddy's awesome. I love him. He's the best daddy. Well, the best person as a dad that I could have. And yeah, I love him.
Well, isn't that so kind? I paid her to say that. But they do have some nice shocks on eBay. If you look up 320 millimeter ATV shocks, they have some really nice one with the extra reservoir that I will eventually replace these chrome ones with. These ride completely fine. I just want to make it look cool and handle a little bit better. Those front ones do really need replaced. Like I said, I got some Bayou shocks that may work out a little bit better than those, at least for right now, because that one's got a little bit of a kink to it. I don't know, you can kind of tell right in the middle of the spring, the coil spring, you can see it kind of indents inward a little bit. So next on the agenda is get the battery box built. Now that I got my welder ready, you'll see that video very soon, and get this front end figured out. We're going to stiffen up those A-arms and rebend the one A-arm out, because this A-arm right here, of course, took a hit before we got it. I think we can bend that out. If not, we're going to completely remake it and then stiffen them up by putting a plate of steel over top of those A-arms, and then we can figure out the accrement on this front end. As you can see, it's not too pretty. This one, the top needs to come out, and then that one over there, the top needs to come out as well, and it needs turned in some, like you know, it needs turned in like this, and it needs pushed out like this, and this one needs to be pushed out like that. So yeah, we're wanting to get a little bit more stuff done on this so she can ride it. We got to get those brakes done because it has brakes. I just never put a release spring, so when you let off the brakes open back up. But we'll get to it hopefully soon. Now we got this church thing called Disciple Now. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but we have that all weekend. So if we do anything fun, I'll get the camera out. And but until I get some free time, it'll probably be about another week before I post a video. I'll try my best to throw something up. I got a bunch of halfway made videos on my laptop. I just need to get a few more clips, so I may do that in the meantime to get something up for y'all to watch. But yeah, I know this really wasn't much of a video. Just threw a torque converter belt on the old go-kart, but she's fixed now, and we're gonna let her cool off and push it back into the garage. And I'm gonna do a little bit of welding tonight. So Aubrey, you want to say goodbye? And guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check me out on Facebook. And always come back to Redbeard's Garage. I'm out.